Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Brian Johnson, who is also known as the Liver King. He has been arrested for allegedly threatening Joe Rogan. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the alleged crime, then offer my analysis. Brian Johnson was born in 1977 and was raised in San Antonio, Texas. He lost his father when he was very young and was raised by his mother. Brian earned a degree in biochemistry, moved to Houston, Texas, and worked as a pharmaceutical sales representative. He married a woman named Barbara, and they had 2 sons. Inspired by movies featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, Brian became interested in fitness and bodybuilding. He claimed that, after watching conventional medicine fail to treat his sons for allergic reactions, he was inspired to develop the Ancestral lifestyle. This involves finding value in the natural world and living like people used to live many years ago. Brian developed 9 tenets for his philosophy: sleep, eat, move, shield, connect, cold sun, fight, and bond. They can be summed up like this: it is important to sleep, eat raw organs, and exercise vigorously. Avoiding Wi-Fi and electromagnetic fields is advisable. It is a good idea to walk on grass, be outside in the cold, and be exposed to the sun. Self-defense is admirable, and bonding with others gives meaning to life. His 9 tenets are a little too chaotic to qualify as a coherent life plan. They could double as a caveman's to-do list, ghostwritten by a Viking-inspired CrossFit instructor with heat stroke. In 2016, Brian Johnson started a company called Ancestral Supplements and sold bottles of bovine organs, which included liver. He promoted this new lifestyle as the solution to physical and mental health difficulties. In 2017, Brian started calling himself the Liver King and eventually built a social media empire by posting videos on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. He frequently published videos showcasing bizarre behavior, which was consistent with his ancestral lifestyle, including the consumption of raw bull testicles. It didn't take long for Brian to develop a bulky and impressive physique. He claimed this was the result of his ancestral lifestyle, including rigorous exercise. Many people suspected that Brian had achieved these amazing results with the help of steroids. One of these people was the well-known podcast host, Joe Rogan. He said that Brian was preposterously jacked and full of blank. On November 28, 2022, emails were leaked which revealed that Brian was using steroids. His steroid habit was quite expensive, over $11,000 a month. 3 days after being caught, Brian published a video on his YouTube channel titled Liver King Confession, I Lied. In the video, he admitted to taking steroids, complained that men were lost, weak, and submissive, argued that he was trying to help people, and blamed his low self-esteem. After the scandal, Brian asked to come on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Joe turned him down, saying, "You ran a con game and you got busted." In May 2025, a documentary titled Untold, The Liver King, was released on Netflix. This was Brian's chance to show off his ancestral lifestyle and to rebuild his reputation. Unfortunately, he appeared to be more defiant and less remorseful than he was in his apology video. In a bizarre move, Brian confessed to multiple offenses, which were unrelated to the steroid scandal. For example, he talked about how he had defrauded GNC years ago, printed money, and manufactured drugs. The documentary captured Brian's painfully misguided attempt at reinventing himself. Now moving to the timeline of the alleged crime. On June 23, 2025, Brian Johnson posted videos containing various statements which could be interpreted as threatening toward Joe Rogan. For example, while holding what appeared to be 2 rifles and wearing a fur pelt, he said, quote, "Joe Rogan, I'm calling you out. My name is Liver King. Man to man, I'm picking a fight with you. I have 0 training in jiu-jitsu. You're a black belt. You should dismantle me. But I'm picking a fight with you. Your rules. I'll come to you whenever you're ready," unquote. Not long after this, Brian traveled to Austin, Texas, the city where Joe Rogan lives, and checked into the Four Seasons Hotel. Brian continued to make statements that could be interpreted as threats. For example, quote, "Guess what? You're dead, blank. You're dead. You're dead. Welcome to Texas." Unquote. The blank rhymes with pitch. He also said, quote, "I challenge you today, Joe Rogan. I'm here at the Four Seasons in Austin. I'm in the shower. I didn't sleep the day before. I was up for about 40 hours." Unquote. At some point, Brian must have been notified that he was in trouble with law enforcement because he mentioned that the police were coming. He said, quote, "I've not threatened to kill anybody. Did somebody say that I was going to kill somebody? I am going to. I've picked a fight. Who have I picked a fight with? Joe Rogan. Why? Out of principle, family. I'm challenging you just as a man. I don't want to kill you. Why would I want to kill you? You have a family. I wouldn't want to take you away from your family. I wouldn't want that to happen, so I hope that none of this is perceived as a threat. Blank you, Joe Rogan. You guys can call all the cops." Unquote. Brian was correct about the police being on their way. They had contacted Joe Rogan, who stated that he never had any interaction with Brian Johnson and considered Brian's videos to be threatening. He wasn't sure why Brian targeted him. He had been told by people that Brian had a significant drug problem and believed that Brian was significantly unstable and needed help. On Tuesday, June 24, 2025, at about 6 p.m., the police arrested Brian Johnson at the Four Seasons Hotel in Austin. He was charged with terroristic threat, which is a Class B misdemeanor. If convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of 6 months in jail. On Wednesday, June 25, 2025, Brian was released on a $20,000 bond. He was ordered to stay at least 200 yards from Joe Rogan and his family members. Brian must have a mental health assessment, must wear an ankle monitor, and is not allowed to possess firearms. Right after being released, Brian returned to publishing videos on Instagram. He said, quote, "Some guy, he thought if you just put him in jail, have the Violent Crimes Division, have them come arrest him for a terroristic threat, and the whole time that terroristic threat you thought was a bomb or something inside that box was actually a present back for you and your mothership colleagues for having my wife and me in mothership that I've held on to for a while just looking for the right time to give it to you," unquote. Brian suggested that the terroristic threat charge had been reduced and said, quote, "I don't want to give any details, nor any names. That's how you get ready for a fight. And you thought the videos would stop, but they will never stop," unquote. He attributed the never stopping characteristic to an infinite amount of venom. Brian once again mentioned fighting when he said, quote, "We came here to pick a fight, and we're going to do it. And I would love to man challenge you to a blanking fight. No one's going to die, but I hope we'll both get hurt," unquote. From what appeared to be the driver's seat of a motor vehicle, Brian said that he was on the road to see Joe Rogan and referred to Joe as subprimal. Brian refers to his followers as primals. Brian indicated that he was going to, quote, "take your punk blank out," unquote, and said, quote, "see you soon, Joe," unquote. After this, Brian continued to post videos on Instagram. On Saturday, June 28, 2025, he indicated that he was having a get-out-of-jail party and had chosen to obey the laws of Texas. At the time I'm making this video, Brian Johnson continues to work his way through the criminal justice system. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. Why did Brian Johnson target Joe Rogan? Did he blame Joe for causing his misfortune or for drawing attention to it on the Joe Rogan Experience? Was he mad at Joe for not having him on the podcast? Like Brian could have explained what happened on the show to a wide audience, but he never had this chance. In that sense, maybe he believed that Joe blocked him from the opportunity to atone for his sin. Did Brian target Joe because he knew that doing so would gain him a lot of attention? Maybe this was Brian's way of becoming relevant again. He knew that picking a fight with Joe Rogan would lead to media attention. There's really no way to know what the answer is here. Brian doesn't really seem to have a motive to target anyone with threats. As far as his fall from grace, Brian has only himself to blame. If I had to guess, I think that Brian is unhappy with his station in life. He thought that being on Joe Rogan's podcast would turn things around, but that never happened. This is about anger, but there could be something else. It's also possible that Brian's behavior is attributable to mental health symptoms. Listening to him talk on these videos, it seems like a stream of consciousness. He's just rambling on with loosely connected thoughts. The theme is that he wants to fight Joe Rogan, but he spends all his time battling proper sentence structure and losing badly. Brian discusses all kinds of things that seem barely related or just plain unrelated to his stated mission. Is this hypomania, obsessiveness, paranoia, a delusion? Has he been using substances? Is he faking mental illness in order to get attention? There's no way to know based on the available information, but one thing is for certain. No one should be surprised that the judge ordered a mental health assessment. Item number 2. Based on the videos that Brian has been posting after being released from jail, he is really taking his chances. The Liver King is flirting with a transformation to the Prison King. It's almost like he is daring the state of Texas to arrest him again. I'm a little surprised that he hasn't been arrested for a second time. Just looking at some of the remarks that he's made since his release, they really do sound threatening, or at least close enough to attract law enforcement attention. For example, that's how you get ready for a fight, the videos will never stop, infinite amount of venom, we came here to pick a fight and we're going to do it, I hope we'll both get hurt, take your punk blank out, and see you soon, Joe. One does not have to read between the lines too much in order to draw the conclusion that Brian is challenging Joe Rogan to physical combat. There is the sense that Brian is ambivalent. He has strong feelings in two directions. He has an overwhelming desire to make threats, but he also would prefer to remain out of jail. The problem is the desire to threaten is winning the battle. One would think that by now, someone close to Brian, like a family member or a business associate, would have taken his phone away. Maybe this speaks to the degree of control that he has over people who surround him. Like there is this dynamic of domination and control. There is an aura of greatness that emanates from the Liver King. His brilliance is so overwhelming that no one will challenge him, even when it would be in his best interest. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. For some unknown reason, Brian Johnson has become fixated on Joe Rogan. Even after being charged with a crime, Brian cannot seem to resist tempting fate. He just can't let it go. The original motive for his behavior is still acting on him, whatever it was. There are clues that suggest that Brian is starting to understand how things could be worse, like when he said he has chosen to obey the laws of Texas. But only time will tell. Will Brian be able to move past this and redirect his energy, or has he found a way to completely obliterate his already badly damaged reputation? Brian Johnson has established a troubling legacy. He is a protein-filled Icarus soaring toward marginal relevance with wings made of raw liver and arrogance. A one-man Greek tragedy performed in a butcher shop. One may think that he is out of surprises, but Brian always manages to defy expectations. He has a remarkable talent for finding attention, always just one fur pelt away from launching the next bizarre chapter. Those are my thoughts on the case of Brian Johnson. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Just a reminder that I have over 300 pre-release videos on my Patreon account. These videos are of the same quality as the videos I release to the public. When I put a video in pre-release status, it often stays there for several months, if not a year. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video.